What's up, everybody? It's another episode of the Fantasy Bruddas. It's me, Sterling Phillips, with my co-host Spencer Phillips, and we're here for another great episode. We're here in week 5. After it was a tough week for me in fantasy, losing some nail biters. I mean, literally, Demarius Thomas almost catching that touchdown would have put me over the top in several weeks. But hey, that's fantasy, and you live to fight another day.
Case Keenum is trash.
Oh, Case Keenum, he's cheeks.
He's not trash, but dude, I mean, he's not the answer. There's a reason Minnesota got rid of him, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, hey, good shit by the Minnesota Vikings. I've heard several rumblings that people thought they should have kept Case Keenum, but hey, I mean, can we say the Vikings made the right decision? I think, aren't they 1-3?
The Vikings right now?
Yeah.
I don't. What is the Vikings record? I thought they won 2 games. Oh, they tied a game. That's right.
Oh, so they're 1-2.
1-2-1.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't get much easier. Actually, they play the Eagles at Eagles, which will be a tough game. But then they play the Cardinals and Jets. So we'll see. We'll see. So we have another, episode ready for you guys. We're going to go through our 2018 fantasy football rankings and some guys that we like in the top 10 and some of our sleeper picks, in the bottom half of the rankings by position. Then we're going to go into some hot waiver wire pickups that, you guys should definitely look into adding to your team. These guys have, played really well this past week, or they've been progressing every week, and they're definitely worth a waiver pickup for this coming week 5. And then lastly, we're going to go into our weekly bets right now. Well, before the bets, I want to talk in between the waiver wire pickups and the bets. I think we should address the Le'Veon Bell situation, and there's another running back that I want to talk about before we get into the bets. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, I'm cool with that too. So without much further ado, let's get into it. I mean, even before we get into it, how'd you do this week, Spence?
I actually did pretty good across my leagues. I think I'm in around 7 or 8 leagues, and I only lost like 2. So I did pretty good for the most part. In all my big leagues, I think I got the W, except for Primetime Year League. I should have won that, but it's all right. How'd you do?
I went about 4-3. Lost a few nail biters. I mean, lost on the Kareem Hunt touchdown in the fourth quarter. Then lost when Demarius couldn't get that one reception he needed. Literally lost by 1 point in one league, lost by 5 points in another league. But I won in both my big money leagues, so I'm happy about that. It's week 5. I'm above 500 in all my leagues except one. And, my team's going to shape up, and hopefully I make playoffs in that one. But without much further ado, me and Spencer have 2 key matchups this week. Playing one in our Dynasty League where my team is just fucking stout. He was very hesitant to make a bet this week, but I completely understand he's going against a powerhouse. But
all I can say is 3 championships in 4 years. Like, I mean, I'm the reigning champ until you take me down. Whatever, man.
Hey, I don't live in the past. So let's get into these fantasy rankings. So top 10 in the ESPN fantasy rankings. Tom Brady at number 1. There's not really a surprise there, but 2 guys that I think are going to have monster days, and I think it's just going to be a complete shootout. I want to say any game where the Falcons are involved will be a complete shootout. So it's going to be Matt Ryan and Ben Roethlisberger. I think both of them have great days. I could see each quarterback throw for over 350 yards with at least 2 to 3 touchdowns each. So I like both of them. They're like kind of my 1-2 this week in the top 10. Matt Ryan, ever since that one game where we were talking shit about him, he has shown why the Falcons have paid him. I can't say his performances have turned into W's, but I think they're on the cusp. And with Devontae Freeman coming back, I think they're going to be a lot more well-rounded, and I think they're going to get the dub against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's definitely reeling. They definitely need Le'Veon Bell. Connor was a good fill-in for 2 to 3 games, but he can't be the every week guy. And it was so apparent against the Ravens. I mean, Ravens come into Pittsburgh, and I haven't seen the Ravens come into Pittsburgh in a while and just completely manhandle the Steelers. I mean, it was a shellacking by any means. It was just a dominant performance. So
it was.
Who do you like in the top 10?
The guy that I have my eye on is actually going up against my team, the Dallas Cowboys, but it's Deshaun Watson, man. I think that he has a big game. Just like I said, I believe last podcast or the one before, I think he's just each game getting more and more comfortable, each game building more and more rapport. I mean, Hopkins is arguably the best receiver in the league. Seems like they're finally getting back on the same page, playing games together. He got a new receiver in Kiki Kuti, who we will get into as far as a waiver wire pickup. I like, the past 2 games, Deshaun Watson's thrown the ball at least 40 times. I can maybe see the game pace changing because the Cowboys don't have that high-powered of an offense, but I still see him probably throwing around 35 passes, and that'll give him ample opportunities to score touchdowns. The one place I'd like to see him get a little bit better is maybe the interceptions. He's a gunslinger. He's thrown a pick in every single game. But what I did like to see was last game he used his feet to get into the get a touchdown. He rushed 6 times for 41 yards and a touch, and I could see him getting a little loose on the Cowboys defense. So that's my guy in the top 10. I want to address something real quick, and that's Pat Mahomes. I am out here in these Kansas streets, as you all know, and I can't stop hearing Pat Mahomes is our Lord and Savior. I mean, and I was one of the guys saying, what are they doing not keeping Alex Smith? He did this, and that. I'm eating my words, but I'm going to be real, Kansas City Chiefs fans. Do not think for a second that y'all are about to do something in the playoffs, because Pat Mahomes might be y'all's savior, but that defense needs Jesus, because you're not going to win in the playoffs with a defense that cheeks. You had Phillip Lindsay gashing them, running the ball down their throats like they were shit, and that's not going to cut it. So y'all can rely on Pat Mahomes' arm all y'all want.
If Case Keenum was worth a shit, the Broncos should have won that game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the offense was so bad on the Broncos end in the second half that it was just gave Kansas City every opportunity to win the game. Didn't close the game out. So Kansas City, get it together on defense, and y'all literally will have a Super Bowl shot. But until that happens, I don't see it happening. Yeah. Anyways, who you like in 11 through 20?
11 through 20, I'm definitely looking at Carson Wentz. Right now, he's ranked QB 14 on ESPN Fantasy Rankings, and this is going to be his 3rd game back. We saw Minnesota can be easily exploited. They're playing at home. This is going to be another notch in Carson Wentz's belt, and Carson Wentz is a top 5 QB when healthy. He's a top 5 QB. He has his favorite weapon back, Alshon Jeffrey, and even though they don't have Corey Clement, J.J. he's healthy, I really think the offense is going to be taking a step forward, and Wentz is going to be slanging that ball all over the field. I definitely think he has a chance for over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. He might even run one in. I mean, the Minnesota defense without Everson Griffin and that secondary is looking dreadful. I mean, Jesus, they couldn't cover anybody against the Rams. And I definitely think Carson Wentz is a better QB than Jared Goff. So we'll just have to see what happens. But I really like Carson Wentz. I have him in a few leagues, and yeah, I'm starting him.
Okay. I don't know about him being a better quarterback than Goff, but we'll see. My guy in 11 through 20 is none other than Blake Bortles. And it's for the fact that they do play the Chiefs. And it's probably will be a shootout, at least 28 points apiece if the Jags want to win the game. And Blake Bortles has actually not been playing bad this year. I mean, he played his one bad game, I would say, was against the Tennessee Titans. But last game, I mean, he completed 76% of his passes, threw for 2 touchdowns. He did throw for a pick, use his feet a little bit. And so I see this game being high scoring. I see that Fournette is out. TJ Yeldon's a capable back, but it's like the Le'Veon Bell situation. I mean, the backup is the backup for a reason. When you miss one of your key guys, it hurts. And so I think they're going to rely on his arm a little bit more. D.D. Westbrook emerged a little bit last game. I would like to just see him get in the end zone, which I think he will. And, I see Blake Bortles actually showing out a little bit this week.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see Blake. I mean, if he can parlay that performance from this past Sunday, I mean, I definitely see him really taking a step forward. I mean, like, what's his name? Jalen Ramsey say, hey, Blake's going to do what Blake does. So, he was definitely living up to that statement. Yep. So let's get into running backs. A guy I've been very high on. I want to say last week was his for sure coming out party.
Sony Michel.
Yep, it's Sony Michel, and of course I'm a little biased, but hey, I have him in like 5 leagues, so yeah, Sony Michel.
That was my guy, to be honest. So
going against the Indianapolis Colts on a short week. The Indianapolis Colts were in a battle against the Texans. They're banged up, they're bruised up. A lot of their key defensive players are actually very nicked up. I think Sony Michel has a great game where the Patriots are going to be milking the clock, and he's going to get at least 18 to 20 carries. I think he ended up last week with over 120 yards and a touchdown. The only thing that I can say about Sony Michel I don't like is that he doesn't seem like he's getting very much work in the passing game because obviously James White's there. But, man, if they can get him involved in the passing game, we're talking about Sony Michel being a solidified top 10 back every week. But until that happens, I like him, 8 to 12 range. But I really like him this week against a very favorable matchup with the Colts.
For sure. I'm between two guys in pause. But I would say I like Melvin Gordon and I like Christian McCaffrey this week. But if I have to pick one, I'm going with C-Mac. And just looking at his usage last game, I mean, dude, they ran him 28 times last game. I never thought I'd see Christian McCaffrey getting 28 carries in a game and only 2 receptions. But the game before that, he had 14 receptions and only 8 rushing attempts. So I like to see a little bit more balance. I think he'll get around, 13 to anywhere from 13 to 17 carries and at least 6 receptions next game against the Giants, so a very susceptible defense. I think they're going to be exploiting the linebacker mismatches that they do in Carolina. And I see Christian McCaffrey getting loose against let's just call it, a Giants team that has not been playing up to what they should be.
Yeah. So in 11 to 20, a guy that I've been high on since the beginning of the season, and he's in a very favorable matchup where I can see them playing from I don't think they're going to get too down in this game, but I do think they're going to be playing from behind with a chance to win the game at the end. But that's Chris Thompson from the Washington Redskins. They're playing against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. He had kind of a a stinker game last game where I think in PPR format he only had 2 points. But I looked to him to bounce back after a bye week. He's fresh. I definitely think if they get behind at all, there is going to be the Chris Thompson show. Don't get me wrong, AP's been playing great and he's going to get his touches, but I definitely see Thompson getting anywhere from 5 to 7 receptions, and hey, he can do anything with those. I mean, we're talking about one of the best receiving backs in the league. So I really like Chris Thompson in PPR format. I think he has a chance for a big game, and I do think he actually finds the end zone this week.
For sure. You know, my 11 through 20 guy, this might be considered a hot take, but it's actually Mark Ingram. And I know he's sat out 4 games. He's done this, he's done that.
He's fresh.
But he's fresh, man. And he looked good in the preseason. The guy is all but foaming at the mouth to get out there. Like Alvin Kamara called it. He was like, "I'm pretty." In the post game press conference, they asked him about Mark Ingram. He was like, "I'm pretty sure he'll be at the airport when we get back." And lo and behold, he was there, congratulating his teammates on the dub and everything. So he's excited to get out there. He's chomping at the bit to get out there. I think the coaches are gonna reward him, give him those goal line carries, and just use him. Let them get the carries. Like they're not. I don't know about easing them in. Of course, Kamara's still gonna get his work, but I think they're gonna give him a solid workload on Monday night. So look for Ingram to have a solid game.
But that also, I mean, a lot of people don't agree with this, but I do think Alvin Kamara's usage is definitely gonna get cut into, meaning touchdowns and meaning the amount of receptions this guy's been getting. I mean, Alvin Kamara has been the clear-cut number 1 fantasy player, not just at his position, but fantasy player, period. And I just think that he won't be able to keep up that pace with a talent like Mark Ingram in the backfield with him. Don't get me wrong, he's still going to be a top 10 back regardless. But, you know, definitely level set expectation for Kamara going forward.
Well, considering I have Kamara in like 3 leagues, I'm gonna disagree. No, I'm just kidding. But I do think that his usage will be cut into. But I still think that the fact that Ingram will be there will just add another dimension that they're gonna have to guard. And I think they're gonna employ a lot of 2-back sets sometimes, or split Kamara out wide. So they're gonna use Kamara in different ways. I don't think he's gonna be putting up 40 points routinely like he has been in PPR, but he's still going to be a beast, so I'm not tripping if you have Kamara.
Yeah. So let's get into the wide receivers. We're going to go 1 through 10. Man, I mean, all these guys have great matchups. I mean, 1 and 2 is Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. Personally, out of those two, I think Julio Jones has the better game. Can we get Julio in the end zone one time? Just one time. Matt, let's get Julio a touchdown this game. I think the yardage and the receptions will definitely be there. I personally think Julio can go for over 200.
Dude,
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Do you realize Julio is on pace to have 2,000 receiving yards?
Yeah, I mean, dude, he can't be stopped. He just can't be. The only place he can be stopped is the red zone for some reason. They still haven't figured it out. They're using Julio as a decoy, and that's getting Calvin really open for touchdowns. That's getting I want to say Hooper has a touchdown. Coleman has a few touchdowns, or has a receiving touchdown. Everyone has touchdowns except Julio, which is arguably the best receiver in the league. So I think that changes. I think he actually has a huge play for a touchdown. I'm talking about 50, 60-yard bomb, and we'll just it's going to be a great shootout. I'm definitely tuning into that game. But I really like Julio this week. In daily fantasy, I'd play him all day. I mean, last week he had almost $180. I mean, the guy's all time. He's making his paper right now. He's going to be tuned in for a huge payday come next year.
100%. I mean, like I said, dude's on pace for 2,000 receiving yards. I don't know if we've ever seen that. I mean, all he needs is touchdowns, and Julio's a beast. My guy is actually Keenan Allen. I like to see him get on track a little bit more this game. He started out with a pretty good game, 8 receptions, 108 yards, and a touchdown, but it's been kind of like been just an okay receiver the past 3 weeks. I think he's been dealing with a couple injuries, but he's been gutting it out. I like to see him get a little loose against the Oakland Raiders. He usually shows out in these division matchups. So, I mean, last time he played Oakland, he had 9 receptions for 133 yards and a touchdown. and Oakland's defense has been looking artsy, very, very fucking artsy. So I like to see Keenan get a little loose, and Phil let him have that.
Yeah, I think Keenan definitely has a chance to have a big game. So 11 through 20, I'm gonna go down the notch just a little bit. A guy like I just said in the quarterbacks, I think Carson Wentz gonna have a great week, which ultimately I think Alshon Jeffrey's gonna have a great week. I mean, first game back dude, he couldn't be stopped. It almost looked like he didn't miss a beat. He didn't miss a beat. What was his numbers from last week? I want to say he had 8 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown. I mean, granted he did fumble, but it was recovered. But it was just a great coming out party. First game back, coming off injury. I think that he's gonna pick up the pace, and definitely have a chance for another great game. But I really like Alshon Jeffrey this week.
For sure. I mean, my guy that 11 through 20 is Golden Tate.
Can we just say he's the most entertaining? I mean, out of all the receivers in the league, when he has the ball, he's one of the most entertaining players to watch. I mean, he's literally doing it out there for the fans. I mean, high stepping to the end zone. I mean, he's bringing back the old 90s taunting. I love it. I love it.
And when you put up 8 receptions for 132 yards and 2 touches, albeit in a loss, I mean, you can do those things. And I see him not having a game that big because I don't think anyone can predict when players explode like that. But I see him having a solid game, double-digit targets, 7 to 8 receptions and over 100 yards receiving, maybe get in the end zone against a Green Bay Packers defense that give up some plays, man, especially around the intermediate routes, which is where Tate makes his money. So, I like to see Golden Tate have another nice game.
Yeah, I definitely like Golden Tate. I have him in a few leagues, so I think that he's going to continue to get those. I mean, the targets are there. The quarterback plays there. He just needs to make especially with Detroit playing from behind a lot, I like Tate every week. So next, let's get into tight ends. 1 through 10. With the tight ends, we've had a few injuries. Tyler Eifert, Will Disley. Some really bad breaks for the guys that were actually off to pretty decent years. But it's nature of football. There's injuries. So top 10 guys I really like. I'd probably say, some really good matchups. Of course, Spencer probably thinks I'm going to go Vance McDonald, but I'm not. I'm actually going to go Mr. Jared Cook. Jared Cook out of Oakland has shown the potential that we've been waiting for the last 5 years. I mean, Jared Cook has always been this freak athlete at tight end that has never been utilized the right way, struggles with drops, mind lapses, and for some reason, John Gruden has got some confidence in him, and we're talking about a Pro Bowl tight end now. I mean, he is playing at that kind of level. He's had last week he went over 100 yards with 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's really building rapport with Derek Carr. Luckily, I picked him up in my Dynasty League, so I got him for the year after losing Greg Olsen. So, I mean, one of the pickups of the year. I'll pat myself on the back one time. Yeah. But I really like Jared Cook this week. He's playing against the Chargers, and which I think is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be – I'm not going to say it's going to go over 35 for both teams, but I see it being high 20s, low to mid 30s. So there's going to be a lot of touchdowns being scored, and I definitely think he might be involved in one of them. So I like Jared Cook this week. In daily fantasy, play him.
Yeah, my guy's George Kittle. And, yeah, I got him in a couple leagues. Yeah, I might be kind of biased. I don't give a fuck. Because, I mean, The guy had
You're
8
supposed
targets.
to trade him to me, you dick.
I had some second thoughts, especially since I'm playing you and you don't have a tight end right now. I'm gonna use that to my advantage.
I'm working the waivers.
You got no choice. But anyways, he had 6 receptions, 125 yards, albeit on an 82-yard scamper to the end zone. That was just beautiful. But I like him being used as CJ Beathard's safety blanket. CJ is going to be dumping the ball off to him and letting him make plays. And they're playing against Arizona. We know what team they are. They are who we thought they were. That dude, man. So, that was with the Cardinals too. That's crazy. But anyway, I like to see George Kittle get loose again this week.
Yeah, I think Kittle's gonna be nice. I mean, obviously, him and CJ have some rapport, and I think he's gonna be in line for a big not just day but season. So this is where it gets tricky. 11 through 20 for tight ends. All these guys have the potential to, say, score a touchdown, but they just aren't getting the usage. But I'm going to go out on a limb. I've been high on this guy since the start of the year. And fuck it. I'm going to say there's going to be a David Njoku sighting this week. I think he gets in the end zone, hopefully, because, the guy has all the talent in the world. He's basically the rookie version of Jared fucking Cook. Jesus Christ, all the intangibles, but just he can't get the rapport with God, why am I blanking out right now?
Who, Baker?
Yeah, with Baker. He can't.
You better remember Baker's name.
He can't get the rapport right with Baker Mayfield, and it's just that offense. Baker, don't get me wrong, they had a chance to win that game, mainly because of their running game and Nick Chubb going 100 yards and 2 touches.
Yep.
But Baker needs to build that rapport because we're talking about he went just above 50% passing after throwing over 40 passes in a game. That's not good. So I'm hoping they get it together. I know Hugh Jackson is probably really focusing on getting that timing right, and I think Njoku has a good game this week. So
yeah,
I like Njoku.
Okay, I like Njoku too. He's a freak athlete. We'll just see if they can start using him the right way. My guy is actually a pretty hot take again, and I'm going with Dallas Goedert. I think after that game against Tennessee, I think he had like 7 receptions, 73 yards, and a touch, and then he kind of came back down to earth. I think for some reason I just feel like he's going to have a big game again, like have a touchdown in the red zone at least. And, maybe have like 4 to 5 receptions. I don't know what the yardage would be, but I see him actually getting loose and scoring a touchdown. He's actually ranked number 20, so he just cracked in the top 20 list. And, of course, we love Ertz, but we'll see. And just side note, I'm really curious to see what Cincinnati does at tight end because Tyler Kroft actually did have some big games when Eifert went down last year, but they do have C.J. Uzomah too. So I'm curious to see who is going to step up in Tyler Eifert's place. But if you're in need of a tight end, and they're more than likely on the waiver, especially Uzomah, I would just take a flyer on them.
Yeah, I'd definitely take Kroft over Uzomah.
I would too.
I think Kroft has more playmaking ability than Uzomah, but to date, Uzomah's had more usage, but I think that can definitely change going forward. So with that being said, let's get into some of our hot waiver wire pickups. Some guys, I know we're recording Tuesday night, so we're probably gonna drop this tomorrow morning just so you guys can tune in and make those last minute waiver pickups before the waivers get processed. So some guys I'm really high on, and I'm not gonna say with these guys, once you pick them up, you're plugging them into your lineups, this week. But there's some guys I really think that in the coming weeks can play a major fact. So I'm just gonna run through a list. Nyheim Hines, really like Nyheim Hines. Ronald Jones. I think Ronald Jones. Hey, I'm telling you, they don't have a running game in Tampa. Ronald Jones is their second round pick. I think he gets a chance. We'll see what he does with it. Nick Chubb. I mean, murky situation, but hey, he is one injury away from being a RB2 candidate, straight up. If Hyde goes down or misses any time, he is a legitimate RB2.
Well, since you just went over basically every running back, I feel like I should just say the receivers that I think are hot waiver wire pickups.
Go ahead.
All right, so of course I love Nyheim Hines. I love Chubb, all that. But as far as these receivers, man, I really like Kiki Kuti. I mean, first, I think he has the most receptions from a first game in NFL history. I mean, he broke out, had 11 receptions for 109 yards on 15 targets. And, I mean, of course that was because Will Fuller left the game a little bit. But, because Will Fuller left the game, someone had to step up. But he stepped up. And if Will Fuller's out, Kiki Kuti automatically becomes, definitely a flex play if you need that. I also like Taylor Gabriel. He had his coming out party. What did he have? Like, I don't even know, but 2 touchdowns.
He had 2 touchdowns with over 100 yards with like 7 receptions.
Yeah, beast of a game. I mean, it was. He's on bye.
He's on bye, but
so you can't plug him in. But yeah, stash him, man. And then my last guy is D.D. Westbrook. He had a good first game, but he finally came through and had a big game with Blake Bortles at the helm, and they play Kansas City Chiefs, one of the worst defense. Actually, not one of the worst, the worst defense in the National Football League. So, I would plug and play D.D. Westbrook. I'm actually playing him in primetime, so I'm looking for him to have a big game.
There's a few more guys I want to go. Of course, Vance McDonald. If you haven't got him, I'm very high on him, especially against a matchup against the Falcons. I think he definitely has a chance for a big game. Hayden Hurts. Remember the name. I'm talking about a guy that the Baltimore Ravens spent a first-round pick on, and he's been sidelined with a foot injury from preseason, but they're looking at this guy to be the guy. And we all know Joe Flacco loves throwing to the tight end. They kind of have like a 3 tight end rotation right now, but when Hurts gets into the mix, he's going to be the guy. I'll say he'll be the guy I'll give it about 3 to 4 weeks. He'll be the guy. But I really like Hayden Hurts. So if you can pick up Hayden Hurts, you heard it first here at Fantasy Bruddas. We're trying to help you win your league. So I really like all those guys.
Okay, so this is where I wanted to stop and talk about. I'm actually going to talk about.
Spence, I just remember one more guy.
Okay.
I have to bring him up.
Who?
Cameron Brate.
Oh, of course. Yes, sir.
Cameron Brate is definitely worth a pick. With O.J. Howard going down and Jameis Winston in the mix, that's one of his favorite targets outside of Mike Evans. I think Cameron Brate is definitely going to be a tight end 2 with high upside. So he's basically Jameis's red zone security blanket. So
yeah, and the topic for another date. I'm really curious to see what Deshaun Jackson will do with Jameis at the helm. But we'll see.
I predict not as much as he did with Fitz.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So anyway, as I was saying, I wanted to take this time to get into 3 running backs and just discuss their situation. And they sound like they could be in a fucking music group or something, man. But it is Kenyon, Carryon, and Le'Veon. And we're going to start with the first guy, Kenyon Drake. I drafted Kenyon Drake in a number of leagues, and so I'm disappointed with the production. And it's truly not his fault. Like, his touches have gone down every single game for I don't know why. Adam Gase just goes away from the run, doesn't utilize Kenyon Drake in any creative ways at all. Like, that's the one thing I love about the Chiefs offense. They play to their players' strengths and they get them the ball in places where they can excel. and Adam Gase is terrible at that. Earlier in the year, before the season started, he was saying Kenyon Drake's going to have 20 to 25 carries a game. Bitch, where? Like he had 3 carries last game, 5 carries a game before. Get Kenyon the ball.
He's obviously,
Like,
I mean, he's their best talent at running back. We saw what he did last year in 5 games. I mean, Gase, if you want to, Gase is just feeling himself a little bit. They went 3-0, but I think they got, they crashed back down to earth, getting just mollywopped by the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those trick plays aren't going to work every week. They worked the first 2 weeks. Like, you're not going to win many games in the NFL on trick plays. I'm sorry. Anyways, rant over. The second guy, Kerryon Johnson. I'm disgusted at Matt Patricia because he has said that the workload is fine that Johnson has been receiving. And I understand he's a rookie, but he is your most effective runner. The guy's averaging damn near 6 yards a carry, and he got 16 carries against New England, and he turned it into a 100-yard rushing performance, which was their first 100-yard rusher since Reggie Bush. Then on 9 carries, he got 55 yards against the Cowboys. Like, I know they're trying to ease him in, but dude, this guy's the truth. Get him the rock and use him in the pass game. Jesus. And anyways, that's my rant on Kerryon. Lastly, we're getting into Le'Veon Bell. So supposedly he's going to show up on the Chiefs Week 7 bye week and hopes to play Week 8. What do you think about that?
I mean, about time. I think that they definitely need him. I think that it's been a long time coming. Let's see what the Steelers do. I mean, there's no grumblings from the Steelers camp indicating that they're going to give him the offer that he deserves. But for Le'Veon to come out and say that he's reporting to camp Week 7, obviously he's been in contact. His agent's been in contact with the GM, and they're probably going to get a deal done. If this happens, we're talking about Pittsburgh going from mediocre football team to seriously title contenders. I mean, Le'Veon's that good. Don't get me wrong, their defense has glaring holes. But one of the biggest reasons why their defense has holes is I actually compared the Pittsburgh Steelers sort of to the Kansas City Chiefs. Terrible defense, explosive offense, but the only difference is the Chiefs have a running game, and right now the Steelers don't. So I think with Le'Veon Bell back in the mix, it's going to definitely boost the Steelers, to that upper tier of teams for sure.
I agree. I mean, Le'Veon's probably my overall favorite player, and the Steelers were trying to get over with.
Don't accept any James Conner trades. Don't.
Oh, obviously. If you have James Conner, get the fuck off him right now too. But anyways, Le'Veon's probably my favorite player, and so the Steelers thinking that they could get over with James Conner, who's a capable back, but dude, Le'Veon, like, put some respect on his name. Dude's an all-pro, like one of the best running backs I've ever seen. You're not gonna replace him with James Conner. Like, I'm sorry, you're not gonna replace him with James Conner. So, and Big Ben already said, we're going to welcome Le'Veon back when he gets here. Damn right you are, because you know you ain't winning shit without him. So I'm happy to see him coming back. Anyways, let's get into our bets. I just want to recap Week 4. So Week 4, Sterling went with the Vikings at +7, as I did. Then he went with the Texans at +1 and the Chargers at -10.5. So the Vikings actually lost by 7, so that ended up being a tie. The Texans won by more than 1. And the Chargers did not cover the spread. So that literally was a win, tie, and loss. And that put his total record at 4-7-1. I picked the Vikings as well. The Lions +3 and the Falcons -5. The Falcons did not cover. The Lions kept it closer than 3. And the Vikings tied. So we both went 1-1-1. My total is at 5-6-1. And Sterling's at 4-7-1. And so you want to get into your picks for this week?
Yeah, I'll just go through all 3 real quick, and then you can go through your 3. So I'm going Redskins at Saints. The spread is -6.5. I think the Redskins actually put up a fight and have a chance to win this game at the end. I do think the Saints eventually pull it out, but I don't think they get smoked by more than a touchdown. So,
wait, so Redskins are plus 6.5 then.
Plus 6.5. Sorry.
All right.
So next this is probably the game I would put everything on if possible, and that's the Denver Broncos at the Jets. The Broncos are +1. I definitely think Case Keenum. I think they get the offense going. I think he's going to be hearing it all week. How Case Keenum sucks. How Case Keenum isn't the answer. I think Case Keenum is an NFL quarterback, and I think he's going to respond, and I hope he does because, Demarius is on a damn milk carton somewhere. I mean, Jesus Christ. This guy needs to get it going, and they're trying. I mean, he's averaging, I want to say, 7.5 targets a game. They just need to get the down. Case needs to trust him and trust Demarius to get those 50-50 balls instead of putting the ball on every receiver. It's that simple. You got one of the best talents in the league. Use them. Simply use them. So I like the Broncos. Lastly, man, this is a tough one, but I'm gonna go Atlanta Falcons +3 against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I thought you said you weren't taking that pick. That's my pick.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is your pick. I'm sorry. I'm going Jaguars. Everyone knows my team is the Kansas City Chiefs. I love these guys, but I think the Jaguars, with that stout defense and, the offense playing pretty damn good, draw up a formula to beat Mahomie. So,
what's the spread on that, though?
It's +3. +3 for the Jags.
Okay. Well, damn, so you're going no one who is favored to win. I like your style.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm getting into mine. I'm going Falcons +3 at the Steelers. I know the Steelers are coming off of they got smacked in the mouth. They're going to come out bussing. But the Falcons lost the game too, and I personally just think that the Falcons are the better team right now. Without Le'Veon Bell, I just think the Falcons are a better team. They've been having some close games, and I think they edge this one out and actually beat the Steelers at home again. And just gives even more incentive and fuel to the Le'Veon Bell story. Then I see the Packers at -1.5 at the Lions. The Packers did not play that good last week. They really didn't. Then they play the Bills, and it was like 22-0, and they beat the Bills, but that was not a good showing. So I like to see them get back on track offensively and give the Lions a little bit of hell and cover the spread at -1.5. And then my last one is, I'm very scared of this game, but I'm going with it, and it's the Titans at -3.5 at the Bills. Because talk about the ultimate Jekyll or Hyde, and that's the Titans team. Maybe they'll get it together this year and be a little more consistent, but especially on the road. And the Bills' defense is not terrible, so I don't know if they'll cover the spread, but that's my pick, -3.5.
Titans 3-1 right now.
Yeah, I know. They're looking good, and Mariota looked really good last game, and so I'm just going to ride the hot wave.
Yeah, and I think Corey Davis, too.
Corey Davis emerged.
He's looking good. I see why they spent that first-round pick on him last year, so we'll continue to just watch
For sure. See. Well, yeah, that is the end of our show, guys, so, follow us on Instagram at Fantasy Bruddas. We got, subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep listening. We're going to try to help you and ourselves win our leagues.
Yeah, and, I mentioned the NBA Fantasy Podcast, but I'm going to mention it again this week. We're probably going to be doing a NBA segment probably a week before the season starts where we go over just fantasy rankings and some guys we love coming in this year. We're both, like I said earlier, we're both basketball players, so that's a hard. We love the NBA, and I know not as many people play NBA fantasy, but it is definitely fun, and it definitely helps you keep up to date with and what. But can't wait. And, tune in next week for another episode of Fantasy Brothers.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.